Okay, so welcome to this short little video. We're going to be talking about sketching and then the use of constraints in order to constrain our geometries to kind of get the kind of effects and designs that we would like. So let's go ahead and go over to Fusion 360. I'm going to go ahead and do the first thing I should always do, and that's going to be create a new component. In this case, we're just going to call this what we're going to do for constraints. So highly suggest, let's just do sketch real quick. We'll do this top plane here. And when we do our sketches, I would just highly suggest that you kind of walk through here and just kind of review yourself with the different constraints that are available. So the first two we're going to talk about is horizontal, vertical. And when you have a line, it's going to try to say, hey, you want this to be horizontal, vertical, whichever one is closest to. That's the way I'm going to do it. And then coincident is just going to take 2 points and move them and put them together. So let's go ahead and do our sketch. I just want to do a couple of lines. So I want this one to be predominantly horizontal. And then I want to do another one that is predominantly vertical. Hit OK. So if I go through, I click my constraint. If I click on this line, it's going to make that horizontal. If I go up here, click on this line, it's going to make that vertical. So that covers our horizontal and vertical piece. Okay, so now let's talk about coincident. That's our second option. So if I click here, and it's going to basically say, hey, I'm looking for 2 points. So I'm going to get the first point. And when I click the second point, it's going to make those coincident. They're going to make them at the same point. So if I click that, it's going to move those two together. So now I've got my 2 lines here. Okay, let's introduce our next contestant here. So this is going to be tangent. If I hover over, it's always going to give me a tooltip. Let me know what's up to. So tangent constrains a curve and another object so that they touch at a single point but never cross each other. So let's add a circle to our design. And then I'm going to introduce this tangent. Let's say I'm going to select the circle or arc, and then I'm going to select that line. And it's going to say, okay, there's going to be 1 point where they intersect. Now, if I want to make it where both are true, I can then do that guy right there. So far, I've got horizontal, I've got vertical, I've got coincident, and now we've added the tangent piece. Okay, so I don't want to, let's escape out of that constraint. I just want to make this line a little bit longer so it gets on out there, and maybe we make this one a little bit longer here. So the next contestant is this equal. So equal constrains similar objects so that their sizes are identical. When the size of one object changes, the others adjust as well. So in this case, I want to apply that equal constraint to the 2 lines. So if I click on both those, then those 2 things should be equal. Oh, okay. When I moved it up, it went ahead and adjusted it. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to back up before I adjusted the size of that line. So I'm going to go ahead and say equal. I'm going to click both of these. Ow. And this, my friends, is the weirdness that happens when, because it's created another line. So let's go ahead and delete. Let's delete this guy. All right, we're going to start over here. So make this equal here and there. Very interesting. It's going ahead and treat this little guy here. That's okay. All right, so let's go tangent to there, go tangent to here. So what I would like, as far as your submission goes, is I would like you to have 2 lines, vertical, horizontal, with showing the horizontal, vertical constraint, also the same length, and then a circle that's tangent to both those. This is going to be kind of like your object 1 that's floating around. Our next constraint is going to be parallel. So that's going to take us into new things. So for this right here, this guy's kind of done. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add, I'm going to add 1 line. Now, one thing to notice is that when I've created this line, you will see that it is automatically adding a constraint. So in this case, it's added a horizontal constraint to my line. So Fusion 360, in its infinite desire to be helpful, has went ahead and changed that. Now, if that wasn't your intent, because let's say this way, if I'm moving this around, it's going to make it, it's going to keep it horizontal. If your intent is that you just want that to kind of be able to be modified, you can always either right click and delete, or you can click on the constraint itself and you can hit delete on the keyboard and that will take it out as well. So I'm going to leave that in for now though. Add another little line here. Now we've talked about the desire to have this as a parallel. So if I go ahead and click that and I click both of these lines, then it is going to go ahead and drive them both to the same in that same parallel stat. So they're going to be parallel to one another. In addition, if I wanted to apply some other things, I want to make these guys equal, then I can make them the equal distance as well. So for in this case, these two are parallel, horizontal, and equal in length. Okay, so let's add another line. So we're going to add a line. I'm going to make it on this line here, but then I'm going to make it at some kind of crazy angle. Go ahead and hit enter. Now what I want is I want this line to be perpendicular. So if I hit this perpendicular constraint, then it's going to move that line to be perpendicular. So far we've done horizontal, we've done vertical, we've made coincident with the two lines, we've made the circle tangent to both this line here and this line here. We then did equal to make these equal. We also made these two lines equal. We made them parallel. We've forced this guy to be tangent. And then let's see here. Let's do this real quick. Let's escape. Pick this whole thing up and move it over. Okay, so far for your submission, you should have the circle two lines, these two lines, this guy tangent. And then what we're going to do is we are going to create two circles over here. And we're going to do a couple of things. So the first one is we're going to highlight this fix unfix. So if I want this particular circle to stay, once I hit fix, and then it's going to stay in its current location and it's going to turn this kind of green color. So then if I'm going to add in, let's say I want these two circles to be tangent to each other, I'm going to pick this guy and pick this guy. So I want that circle to move. Oh, okay. Well, actually that was expected. It did. It has the circle fixed, so it adjusted the diameter of this circle to be tangent, but left it in the same location. So let's do this. Let's undo, get that guy back, and let's go ahead and we're going to add a dimension. We're going to add a dimension to that circle, and it's going to be the size it is. Now, if I go ahead and apply that same, constraint, tangent, I want this one to be here, then what it's going to do, it's going to actually move it because now it can't adjust its diameter because we fixed its dimension, right? So I click that, it's going to move that circle over. So let's go ahead and add that to your, capture. You should have one circle that's fixed, so it's going to be green in color. You're then going to make another circle, and then you're going to make those tangents. So this circle should have a dimension as well. Okay, so let's see here. So we're going to talk about midpoint next. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw a rectangle. Do it there. And I'm going to go ahead and add in a line. So I'm going to add this line in some weird cases, make sure it doesn't pick up any additional constraints. So then what I can do is I want to do midpoint. Now, it doesn't necessarily like you can't say like, I want this line to be at the midpoint here. It's going to say like, failed to solve. So what I can do, cancel that out. What I can do is hit midpoint, and I want the line there to be at the midpoint of this guy. And so that's what it's going to do. So I'm going to pick this guy, and I'm going to do the midpoint of this one. And so now you can see those two additional constraints. So I have a line, and it has the midpoint constraint located on each of the rectangles. I'm sorry, rectangle side. Okay, so let's do the last couple of things. Oh no, it won't let me escape. Okay, so I'm just going to grab that rectangle, move it over here, and then what I want to do is I'm just going to put a couple of circles, put those guys here, and then what I can do is I can use this concentric. So what concentric does is it constrains 2 or more arcs, circles, or ellipses to the same center point. So if I had these 2 guys here, and let's go ahead and make these are different diameter. Let's say instead of 0.86, let's make it 0.5. So make it smaller. So there are a couple of options. So in the first option, I can just make them concentric. Let's see what happens here. If I want this guy to be concentric with that guy, it's just going to move that guy over. So then those are going to share the same center point. Okay, what else we got? Collinear. Now, if you remember back to that T thing that we built, so if I just do some lines and I have, I go up like this, I have a T of some sort. Okay. What I can do is I can add a collinear, and then I can choose 2 lines, and then it is going to make them on the same. So if I go over to the tooltip, let's go here. So collinear, what does it say? 2 or more objects are built so they share a common line. So if the 2 lines then would share the same. Let's see here. What's the last thing we had? Actually, symmetry and curvature. We're just going to cover symmetry, skip curvature. So what you can do for symmetry is, if, for example, I drew an additional line, let's say the midpoint of that guy, and then let's just go down to where it intersects here. Okay. Then I want to toggle this guy. So I want to make that a construction line. What I can choose is, if I choose constraints and say symmetry, it's going to be a 3-click option. So it's going to ask me what I want to make symmetrical. So let's say I wanted to make this line and this line symmetrical. I'm going to choose one. I'm going to choose the second, and then I'm going to choose the third. Okay, that didn't work out. So let's go ahead and undo that thing. All right, so let's go through its prompt as it asks us. All right. So select objects. Okay. Select second sketch element, this guy. Select a symmetry line. So you watched me do both those. You'll have to go back and look and see what I messed up. But now you can see that those 2 things are now symmetrical. So if I move one, it's going to move the other one. Okay. So we've covered horizontal, vertical, coincident, all the way down through symmetry. So for your submission, I would like to see the 2 lines in circle, the 2 parallel lines with a tangent line, 2 circles that are tangent with one being fixed, a rectangle with a center line that's showing the 2 midpoint constraints, a concentric, 2 circles, and then your T thing here with your symmetry identified, and then a collinear constraint as well. Okay, so that's a submission. I know this is a little bit longer than usual, but hopefully then that gives you some familiarity with the constraints. So good luck.